Any triangle is got 4 sides? हाँ कर रहे हो. It is only 3 sides. Wind triangle is got 3 sides. So do you hear those PA, your captain speaking from flight deck? Today we will fly to Bangalore. We will make 4 wind triangles. No, Dr. Saab. No. Hello ladies and gentlemen, your captain speaking from flight deck. My name is Capt Surinder Singh. Welcome aboard the plane talking. Sit back, relax and enjoy your journey. So today's topic is, any triangle is got 4 sides? हाँ कर रहे हो. It is only 3 sides. Wind triangle is got 3 sides. So do you hear those PA, your captain speaking from flight deck? Today we will fly to Bangalore. We will make 4 wind triangles. No, Dr. Saab. No. What is wind triangle? Before we see what is wind triangle, let's say this is a river or water stream, and water is still in this. You want to go from, this is a place A, you want to cross this, you want to go to B, and you have, so this is the track which you want to fly. 090 track is the path which you fly on ground. That's what you want to fly. American call it course, Britishers call it track, but the meaning is same, the path which you follow on ground. So you will keep your boat heading. What heading is the direction in which you are pointing. So the boat direction you will keep or heading as 090 and you will reach here. Very simple. You are rowing in direction 090 and you are moving in the direction, so your heading and track are same. Now just visualize, there is the water which is a stream which is flowing this way, and you want to go from A to B. Your track required is same. You want to fly from A to B. So I point my boat, what heading? 090. Heading is the direction which you are pointing, a line 090, and you start rowing. You will reach B? No. Why no? Water flow, whatever it is, will, what it will do? Hanji. Okay, water is moving. So water will give you push or will give you a term called drift. So you are pointing in 090 means your heading is 090, but you will not travel on 090 because the motion, the medium in which you are moving, that itself is moving. So you want to go here, this water stream which is coming, if you point in direction 090, you will follow a path like this. You will go to the right. How much you go to the right, that depends upon what is the speed of the water at which it is coming. The direction in which longitudinal axis of aircraft is aligned, or direction in which aircraft is pointing, or what you are seeing on your compass. That is your heading. So you may be on your compass seeing 090, but you are pointing here, but the water is giving you a push. So you are going on the right. Similarly, if the water was coming from the right, you will go to the left. So this is called drift. And the angular difference between heading and track. So one of the effect of this moving medium is it will give you a drift. If medium was not moving, your heading and track both are same. Now just visualize you are on the aircraft and you want to go from place A to place B. This is the track which you need to follow. As a convention, track is shown by 2 arrows. So if you maintain your heading 090 and if there are no winds, you fly a heading of 090 and you reach your destination. But what if you have winds coming from, winds as a convention shown as 3 arrow. Heading of the aircraft is shown by single arrow. That is a convention which is used. So in case I maintain heading 090, you will not reach B, because the winds which are coming from left will give you drift. If the winds are coming from left, they'll give you starboard drift. So we don't call it right left. This term we have borrowed from sailors or mariners. Sailing came much before aviation. So these terms, most of the terms which we will use, we have borrowed from them. So in the ships also, they don't call it left right. The term used is left is called port, right is called starboard. Again, there is a history for this. Those ancient days. So either you are seeing one side port and one side you are seeing stars. So even those seat allotment or for the when they're entering into the harbor, so either it was one thing is stars, one side was port. So that's how it came, port and starboard. So exactly same term we use. If the water is coming from the left, you are pointing in this direction, but you will go to the right. That is how you will fly. So your heading is 090 east, but track which you are flying, this A to B which you want to fly, but because of this drift, so you continue. Winds give us drift. So that is one of the effect of winds, means it will give you difference between heading and track. That is called drift. If there are no winds, your track will be same or the course will be same. So as a convention, heading 1 arrow, and if the winds are coming from left, you will be drifted to the right and your track will be on the right. This is called starboard drift. And if the winds are coming from right, you will be drifted to the left. So this is called starboard drift, port drift. It's very simple. The heading is the direction in which you're pointing, or basically what you're seeing on your compass. Track is path which you're flying, which is affected by if there are winds. If there are no winds, both are same. That is one effect. The second effect of winds is, let's say, same river, everything same, water is still, I am rowing like this at some speed, 40 knots. Knots is nautical mile per hour. In the still water, you are rowing at 40 knots, and on ground also you will move at 40 knots. But let's say you have stream coming from the front at 10 knots. Now what will happen? In the water you are still moving at 40 knots, but on ground how much you are moving? Because the medium itself is moving in which you are moving. So you move 40 knots, the medium moves 10 knots behind. So in the water, your speed is 40 knots. Because you are going upstream, your ground speed will be 30 knots. And if you go downstream like this is upstream. If you go this way, downstream, your ground speed will be 50 knots. In the water you are moving at 40 knots, but the water itself is moving and giving you a push at additional 10 knots. Now translate this whole thing. In the aircraft, winds coming from the front, and in still air, the speed at which you travel, we call it TAS, true air speed. Let's say I'm moving at 50 knots of TAS. true airspeed. And you have winds coming from the front. So sailors call it what? Upstream. Again, we have borrowed this term. We call it upwind. So if you go upwind, what will be your resultant ground speed? Excellent, 40 knots. If you go downstream or downwind, so that's what happened when you will do your flying. When you do pattern, you have upwind, you have downwind, you have crosswinds. So this you are going downwind. Here it is upwind. Your ground speed was 40 knot. If you go downwind, your ground speed will be 60 knots. So that is the two effect of winds in which you fly. One is it will give you drift. The second effect is it will affect your ground speed, that is change in ground speed. That is the difference between TAS and ground speed. So drift is angular difference between heading and track. A lot of people tend to confuse with the term called track error. We will see what is track error. The drift is only given by winds. And the second effect is it gives you change in ground speed. But where is the triangle? We will see that. But let's see, I want to go from A to B and the winds are, so the track which I need to fly is A to B is 090 and the winds are coming from the left. So what should I do? Because if you maintain heading of 090, you will not reach here. All the time you will be drifted down. Your track will be more than 090. But I want to go here. Even the basic fisherman, he knows. He knows there is a water stream coming and he has to go from A to B. This is, so what normally he does? Any guess? You have to make correction for the drift. Point towards, that's what you're telling, from whichever direction the water is flowing. So you will not go here, water is pushing you. So you will fly this path. As a pilot also, you want to go from A to B, what you should do? Give correction into the winds for the drift. If winds are stronger, you have to give more correction. And if the winds are lesser, the correction required is less. No winds, no correction required. So you give correction for the drift. That's how it is. Very interesting thing. Now, so where is the wind triangle so far? There's still no triangle. So let's see something interesting. Can you find something interesting in this? Best example to see what the drift is. The winds are coming from right. Let's say I want to land on that runway. If there are no winds, you will point like this and you continue going. You will be aligned with the center line. But if the winds are from the left and you point here, what will happen? You will be keep drifting to the right. So what is the better solution? You are pointed in this direction. Are you going there? You are flying like this. So that's what is your cross-wind landing technique. When you will fly, you will learn. Obviously, you cannot land like this. You will rip apart all your landing gear. If you sideways, the shearing force. So what do you do? Just before touchdown, you give the rudder, you straighten it out, and you touch down. It is exactly the same thing. You can see the aircraft nose is pointing to the right and the aircraft is going towards the left. This is a classical example to see how the correction for the drift is given. So just before touchdown, what they will do? Just straighten out the nose. Yes. Here the nose is coming straight. Can you see this? How the correction for the drift is applied, and you can actually see the kind of drift. And just before touchdown, they will straighten out just before touchdown. You don't do it before because otherwise you go off the runway. But my question still remains, where is the triangle? Okay, let's see. Where is the triangle? You want to go from A to B. Let's say in the video which we saw, you want to land on the center of the runway. And winds are coming from left. This is the track which you want to fly. You want to land. I'm taking example because you just saw. It could be just a point also, not the runway. You want to go to that point. And winds are coming from left all the way. So what they will give you? Which kind of drift you will get? If the winds are coming from this way, left, to the starboard, to the right, so obviously you will have starboard drift. What about your ground speed? It will be less because you have headwind component. Can you see this? It is coming from your frontal quarters, yes. Correct? It will reduce your ground speed also. So you will make correction for the heading, depending upon whatever the winds are. You are given correction for the heading to the left. You are pointing in this direction. So this we show as a vector. So this becomes heading vector. And the path which you want to fly is your track vector. What is the missing thing? Winds. So winds also you show as, you don't draw winds like this all the way, you show as a vector. Vector is got what it is got? Linear plus direction. That becomes your wind direction and wind velocity. That's how we give. So heading vector, wind velocity, track. Now it forms a triangle, the three sides. But you don't draw it. You are landing on the runway, so this is your heading vector. This is your track vector, and then you have winds coming. And the angular difference between heading and track is referred as drift. Now it completes a wind triangle. As a pilot, you are pointing in this direction, and if there were no winds, this you would have been following a particular task, or you are flying at some speed in air at a task. But you will not go here because these winds will give you drift. This is the track which you fly, and when you're going from A to B, this will be your ground speed. Actually, how much time you will take to land, correct? That is the physical path which you are flying. So whatever you saw aircraft landing, that is depicted in the form of three vectors, which is called wind triangle. That is for landing, you want cruise or wherever you can think of, that's how the correction is given. Fine. So in a wind triangle, you have three sides. One is as a pilot which you want to fly heading and task. Then you have winds which will give you finally a particular track and ground speed. So if the winds are coming from front, you can see the yellow line is smaller than green line. So your ground speed is less than task because you have winds coming from fronts, and that is headwinds. Now on the same way, let's say if I want to go from A to B, this is the track which you want to fly. Same A to B, but today winds are like this, coming from the left tail quarters. So what kind of drift it will give you? If the winds are coming from the left, they will give you starboard drift. So which side correction you will make? Into the winds. So that becomes your heading vector. You have to represent winds. So that becomes wind vector. Wind direction and then velocity. So now look at the green and yellow line. This is the test which you want to fly. This is the effect of winds and ground speed, and this is drift. So in this case, because winds are coming from tailquarters and from the left, they are giving you drift as well as change in ground speed also. And this, your ground speed is more than test. So this wind triangle actually represents all these three components, and this is in case you have tailwinds. Winds are coming from the left, you will go to the right, you have to make a correction. So the representation is in the form of wind triangle, and this vectors is got specific annotation, heading as 1 arrow, track as 2 arrow, and winds as 3 arrows. So this is your wind triangle. You seen after the break. Till then, stay tuned. This is your captain speaking. Please copy this.